Hello students, welcome to AriserTalent. As you know, we are studying very important chapter on NCERT, that is control and coordination. Okay, in this chapter today we are going to talk about the movement in plants. Movement in plants or plants movements. Plants movements. Okay, if we talk about the movements in plants, then generally plants do not show the movement like the animals. Okay, animals can move from one place to another for their needs of foods, for the different feeding habits, for breeding, for shelter, etc. But it does not happen with the plants. Okay, plants show different kinds of movement. So what are they? Generally on the basis of their movement, plants are classified into two groups. So here we are going to talk about movements in plants. Okay, why plants cannot move from one place to another? Generally plants cannot move because they are fixed to the substratum by their roots. Okay, so they show different types of movements. What are they? Generally they show two types of movement: nestic movements, and tropic movements. Okay, nestic movement, generally these are known directional movements. Okay, these are also known as known directional movements. Known directional movements. Why they are known as known directional? Because the movement in the such kind of plants, they is not fixed in particular direction. Means we cannot say that the plants show in this movement, plants will show only upwards, they will move only upwards, they will grow only downwards, or they will move particularly to the particular direction or to the particular stimulation. Okay, so these are known as known directional stimulus or known directional movements. Generally these are of two types. Again, these are of two types: seismonestic, okay, and nyctanestic. Another is nyctanestic. Okay. And if we talk about tropic movements, then tropic movements are directional. Means when the plant part will show the movement, it will be directional. Means either it will show the movement towards the direction of chemical, or towards the direction of the water current, or towards the direction of light, or towards the direction of gravity. Okay, so this is the reason that such movements are known as directional movements. They are also known as directional movements. Okay, and these are generally of different types, like phototropism, okay, then geotropism, okay, chemotropism, hydrotropism, and thigmotropism. Okay. So thus we can say that plants show different types of movements than the animals, and they show two types of movements. They are nestic movements. Okay, generally they are of two types, seismonestic and nyctanestic, as well as they show tropic movement, which are according to the direction of stimulation. Okay, so according to that they are categorized into 5 groups: phototropism, geotropism, chemotropism, hydrotropism, and thigmotropism. Means they show these kinds of directional movements. Now we will talk about them in the detail. First of all, we will talk about nastic movements. So as I told you that these are non-directional movements. Okay, they are of two types. Number one is nastic movement. Nastic movements. Okay. So what are nastic movements? Generally they are known as non-directional. They are known as non-directional movements. Okay, generally they show the movement according to the touch stimulus or according to the light stimulus. Okay, they are known as non-directional movement. They generally show movement due to touch or light stimulus. Okay, so these are of two type. One is seismonastic. Okay, seismonastic. Here we can see seismonastic movements in the plant. Here we can see the plant leaves are totally broad, but they are sensitive. What happens in the seismonastic case? When we touch these leaves, then these leaves fold themselves. Okay, here we can see that these leaves are folded. So that this movement is known as seismonastic movement. Okay. Why it happens? Because the whatever the chemical is present inside it, okay, it goes to the downwards. Here the movement when we touch these leaves, then these leaves folds up because of the chemical which is present in the leaves goes backward. Okay, this is the reason they folds up. So this is known as seismonastic movement. When we touch leaves of touch me not plant, the leaves of this plant, folds. The leaves of these plants folds because of seismonastic movement. Okay, generally this touch me not plant is known as mimosa plant. Okay, so this we can say that this movement is because of the touch. So thus we can say, thus in seismonastic movement, plant show movement, or part of the plant show movement due to touch. Okay, due to touch. Fine. Next we will talk about nystagmustic movement. Second is nystagmustic movement. What happens generally when the plant leaves grow in the morning? Okay, they show the stimulus, they show the movement according to the light. Okay, what happens when suppose the example is dandelion, the leaves, or we must say the flower of dandelion, grows in the morning light and it fades in the evening. Okay. Okay, next we will talk about nystagmustic movement. Second is nystagmustic movements. Generally, these movements are also known as sleep movements. Why? Because such kind of movements appear in the part of plant like flowers and leaves during the day or night. This is the reason these are known as sleep movements also. Okay. So, let me mention here the known directional movement, the known directional movement in the parts of the plant, the known directional movement in the parts of the plant in the day or night are known as what? Nictenastic or sleep movement. Okay, sleep movement. For example, like as I gave you the example of dandelion, then flowers of dandelion opens up in the bright light in the morning and they closes in the evening when the light shades. Okay, for example, in dandelion flowers close in the open in the flowers open in the bright light in the morning, bright light in the morning and close in the evening. Okay, and such kind of movement is known as photonastic. Okay, and this movement is known as photonastic movement. Okay, and some plants some parts of the plants show movement according to the temperature. Okay, when the temperature is high, then they closes their leaves, or when the temperature is normal or low, then they opens the leaves. Okay, and such kind of movement is known as thermonastic movement. Okay, another example is when the movement in the movement of the plant part is due to the temperature of surrounding, due to the temperature of the surroundings that is known as thermonastic movement. This is known as thermonastic movement. Okay, so here we can say that nictenastic movements, which are known directional movement, okay, they are of two types. What are they? Seismonastic and nictenastic. Seismonastic is due to the touch, when the parts of the plant show movement due to the touch. Okay, that this is known as seismonastic movement. And then when the parts of the plants show movement in the day or night, then they are known as nictenastic or sleep movements. They are again of two type. One is photonastic movement, means when they show the movement in the day and night, that is known as photonestic. Photo means light, and when they show the movement according to the temperature of surrounding, that is known as thermonestic movement. Thermo means temperature. So here we talked about nictenestic movements. Now we will talk about tropic movements. Next is tropic movements. Tropic movements are generally known as directional movements because in such kind of movements, plants show the movement according to the in the particular direction, okay, or we must say in the direction of the stimulus. Next is tropic movement. Tropic movements means the movement of the part of the plant in the direction of stimulus. The movement of the plant part in the direction of stimulus. Okay, these are also known as directional movements. Directional movements. Okay, and these are of different type. First of all, we will talk about phototropism. Here we can see phototropism. What is phototropism? When the part of the plant move in the direction of light, that is known as phototropism. First of all, we will talk about phototropism. First is phototropism. Phototropism. Okay. So when the part of the plant, show movement in the direction, or we must say generally phototropism is the movement in the plant due to the light, and it is of two types. One is positive and another is negative. So when the part of the plant show movement in the direction of the light, that is positive phototropism of the light is known as positive phototropism. Positive phototropism. Okay, and when the part of the plant show movement away from the direction of the light, that is negative phototropism. When the part of the plant show movement away from the light, or we must say when it is away from that source, okay, source of stimulus, it is known as negative phototropism. Negative phototropism. Okay, Now look here. This is the example of phototropism. What actually happens when we take plant in the, okay, when we take a plant and once we keep that plant in the direction of sunlight, okay, or we keep the plant in the open, and once we keep the plant in the closed room, okay, and only one window is open from where it is receiving the light. Now what happens? As we all know that the top means the tips of the plant, means the growing part of the plant have oxalin. Okay, now what happens when the plant is kept in the open? Okay, here we can see it is having auxin, which is the hormone present in the plant, which is the growth hormone actually. So here we can see this plant which is kept in the open, it is receiving the sunlight and all the parts of this plant are receiving sunlight. Clear? Now what happens, as I told you, that auxin is present at the tips of the growing part of the plant. Now here, as it is receiving the sunlight, means all the parts are receiving the sunlight, then this auxin will divide in all the parts of the plant. This is the reason that this plant will show the slow rate of growth. Fine. Now just opposite to it, the plant which is kept in the closed room and it is receiving the light from a window, then it will move towards the sunlight. Okay, means it will move towards the window from where it is receiving the sunlight. What is the reason? Reason is that here, as I told you, at the tips of the plant part there is a growth hormone that is known as auxin. Okay, so what will happen then? This will move towards the sunlight. Now the auxin which is present at the tips, okay, it will move away from the part which is facing the sunlight. Okay, so this part means the opposite part which is in the dark will grow faster than the part of the plant which is receiving the sunlight and has moved towards the sunlight. Okay, and this whole process is known as phototropism. Clear? Now next we will talk about next is geotropism. Next is geotropism. Geotropism, geo means earth, okay. When the part of the plant show movement towards the gravity, okay, then this is known as geotropism. But sometime what happens, some part of the plant which grow towards the gravity, they show positive geotropism, and the part of the plant which move away to the gravity, that are known as, they show negative geotropism. Okay, so let's discuss. Next is geotropism. Geotropism. What is geotropism? The movement of the plant part due to the gravity. Okay, and again it is of two types, positive geotropism. Positive geotropism means the part of the plant which grows towards the gravity. Okay, the part of the plant which move or grows towards the gravity. Okay, this movement is known as positive geotropism. The part of the plant which moves towards the gravity shows the positive geotropism, positive geotropism. Okay, and the part of the plant which move away from the gravity, that is known as negative geotropism. Negative geotropism. When the part of the plant moves or grows away from the gravity, is known as, or the movement is known as the movement is known as negative geotropism. Okay, so hope as you all are studying from the junior classes that we all know that the roots of the plants grow towards the gravity, okay, and the part of the plant that is known as shoot, which is above the ground, moves towards the sunlight, means that moves away from the what? Away from the gravity. This is, thus we can say that shoot means the part of the plant that is shoot show negative geotropism because it is moving or growing away from the gravity, okay, and positive geotropism means the part of the plant, means roots grow towards the gravity, that's why they are known as that, they show positive geotropism. So examples here are roots and negative geotropism, examples are shoot. So here we can see in the diagram, okay, when we took a plant in the pot, then when it was straight, the upper part means stem was growing towards the sunlight and the roots were growing towards the soil, means towards the gravity, okay. But when we keep this plant horizontal, then only what we find that we observe after few days, we observe that the part of the plant which is above the ground, means that shoot part moves toward the sunlight, means this moves away from the gravity, okay. Gravity pulls the things towards it, means this pulls the things downwards, okay. So here we can see that the roots are growing still when the pot is horizontal, it is kept horizontal, still it is moving, means roots are moving downwards towards the gravity. So this experiment shows that the part of the plant which show movement to the gravity is positive geotropism, it shows positive geotropism like roots, and the part of the plant which moves away from the gravity, that is known as, that show negative geotropism. Clear? Next is chemotropism. Next we will talk about chemotropism. When the movement is due to the chemicals, that is chemotropism. Next is chemotropism. What is chemotropism? When the part of the plant show movement towards the chemical or due to the chemical, that is known as chemotropism. The movement of the plant part in the direction of chemical, in the direction of chemical stimulus. Okay, so here let's move towards the diagram. Let me explain you. Here we can see that stigma is there. Okay, now this stigma of a flower releases some chemicals. What kind of chemical it releases? Generally it releases sugary substance. Okay, sugar substance or sugary substance we can say. Then this stigma releases sugar substance. Okay, now what happens? The pollen grain which comes to the stigma, okay, it generates or it grows what? It generates or it grows a pollen tube which goes towards the ovary. Generally we can say that when this pollen grain comes to the stigma and then it give response to the chemical substance. Which chemical substance? The chemical substance which is secreted by this stigma, and that is sugar substance. Okay, so it give response to the sugar substance and then here it grows a pollen tube downwards to the ovule. Okay, and generally this process helps in the fertilization. The result of this process is known as fertilization. So what happened in the chemotropism? When the stigma releases sugar substance, that is a chemical, then it secrete it to the, move downwards to the style, and from style it goes to the ovary here. Okay, now when pollen grain come here to the stigma, then it give response to that chemical substance and it grows a pollen tube, and then this pollen tube goes towards the ovary, and here it helps in the fertilization. Clear? So we can say that the generally chemotropism, the result of chemotropism is fertilization in the plants. For example, pollen grains give response to the, or directly we can write example is fertilization, then we will write the details here. Example is fertilization in plants. Okay, this is the example of chemotropism. What happens in it? Stigma secretes a sugar substance that is a type of chemical here. Okay, and it goes in style, from style to, it goes in style than in ovary. Okay, when pollen grain comes or falls on stigma, it give response, we can directly write it responds to the sugar substance and grows pollen tube which goes to ovary, and thus it causes or it helps, we can say it causes or it helps in fertilization. Thus, it helps in fertilization. Okay, so this is all about the chemotropism. Fine. Next is hydrotropism. Next directional movement is hydrotropism. Next movement is hydrotropism. Hydrotropism means when the part of the plant show movement in the direction of water stimulus. Okay, when the part of the plant moves towards the water, means this is one kind of stimulus. Okay, so when the part of the plant moves towards the water, and again this hydrotropism is also of two type. What is that? Geohydrotropism and positive hydrotropism and negative hydrotropism. Again it is of two type, positive hydrotropism and negative hydrotropism. Okay, so same condition is there. When the part of the plant move towards the water, then it is known as positive hydrotropism, and when the part of the plant moves away, means grows up in the opposite direction of the that stimulus, that is negative hydrotropism. Okay, so here let's talk about the hydrotropism. This is the example of it, or we can say this is one kind of experiment which we have done here. So here we can see that we have taken two glasses, and in that we have filled that part of the glass, fourth part of the glass with the soil. Here we can see this is soil. Okay, now what we do in the other glass, means B, in the glass B, what we do, we take one pot here, okay, and then we fill some water in it. But what happens now, what we do here, we do generally, we provide plant or we supply the water to the plant by giving water to this soil. Now what happens in this plant, the root, here we can see, as we all know that in the plant, roots take water and minerals from the soil and then it's supplied to other parts of the plant. Okay, so here we can see that roots are the main part of absorbing water and minerals from the soil. Now here, as in the glass A, we are providing water in the soil, means we are nourishing this soil with the water. Okay, means we are providing water uniformly. Okay, now what happens, we can see that these roots here, this is the part of the plant that is root. So we can see that the roots here in this glass A are growing in straightly. Okay, they are growing straight. Why? Because it is getting nourishment or it is getting moisture from all these sides. Okay, so it is going towards the gravity only. So this is the reason it is growing straight, because it is getting water from all the sides. But in the case of B, the condition is different. Why? Because we have kept one clay pot here in the soil, in which we have poured some water. Okay, but we are not supplying water here in the soil. Now, as we know that roots are the part of the plant which absorb water from the soil. Okay, now we can see that here this clay pot has water. Then the roots will move in the direction of this clay pot. Why? Because it contains water. So thus we can say that part of the plant show movement towards the water stimulus. Okay, and this process is known as hydrotropism. Next is next is thigmotropism. Next is thigmotropism. When the part of the plant show movement according to the support, that is known as thigmotropism. Okay, so let's discuss here in the diagram. Here we can see that the pea plant is there. Okay, now what happens here? We can see that this pea plant needs support to grow. Okay, now what happens? The tendrils will grow in the stem and then they will curl around a support. Okay, this is the bamboo stick for the support here. Now actually what happens in this condition, then when this plant part means tendril curl around the stem or curl around any support, then what actually happens, the other part of will grow finely and but this tendrils will not grow properly, means they will the growth in this tendril will slow comparatively to the other parts of the pea plant. Why it happens? When this tendrils take support of that stem or whatever the stick is there, then when they come in the touch with that support, what happens, the hormone which is present there, then it moves downwards or it moves towards the other parts, and this is the reason that that part of the plant that is known as tendril, because of the support, it will grow slowly compared to the other plants. Then the other plants will grow the other parts of the plant will grow faster. Fine. Okay, now we will talk about the different hormones present in the plant. Hormones in the plant. Okay, generally we know hormones are the chemical substances which generally helps in the growth or generally they helps in the to give responses to the different stimulus in the environment. Okay, now here we are going to talk about the hormones present in the plant. So as we all know, these hormones help the plant to respond to the environment and as well as in the growth development. So here let me mention that hormones in the plants help in growth development, and to respond the environment. Okay, so thus these hormones are, on the basis of their nature, these hormones are of two types. One are growth promoters and another are growth inhibitors. Okay, growth promoter and growth inhibitor. So hormones which are known as growth promoter, they are auxin, gibberellin. Again, they are of three types: auxin, okay, gibberellin, and cytokinins. Okay, auxin, gibberellin and cytokinases. If we talk about growth inhibitor, means they reduce the growth. They are of two types, ethylene and abscisic acid. They are of two types. Abscisic acid and ethyl. Or ethylene. Fine. If we talk about their functions, then what happens in the auxin? Auxin is the growth promoter hormone, and generally it promotes the cell division in the plant and helps in the elongation of the plant, and generally it is present in the stem. Okay, so here let me mention, helps in cell division and elongation of plant part. Okay, if we talk about gibberellin, then generally it helps in the seed germination. Okay, this gibberellin helps in seed germination. Seed germination. Okay. If we talk about cytokinesis, then this cytokinesis helps in the secondary cell division and also helps in the production of female flowers. Okay. Cytokinesis helps in secondary growth as well as helps in production of female flower. Okay. Now we will talk about these. This was all about the growth promoter, means they are increasing the growth of the plant part. Now we will talk about the growth inhibitors. Now they are of two types, abscisic acid and ethylene. Okay, what is the function of abscisic acid? Generally, abscisic acid, what happens? It closes the stomata during the underwater stress. Okay, so here we can mention, and it reduces transpiration. It reduces transpiration by closing stomata under water stress. Okay, water stress. Okay, and if we talk about ethylene, then it causes aging in the plants. It causes aging. Okay, so this was all about the different hormones which are very important and given in the syllabus. There are two types of hormones present in the plants. Generally, the hormones are the chemicals which are produced by the plants. Okay, and there are two types of hormones which are present in the plants. They are growth promoter as well as growth inhibitors. Growth promoters means they divide the cells and then they help to grow the different parts of the plant. They help in the production of different parts. They help in the production of flower. Okay, as well as they help in the secondary growth also. Okay, they help in the germination also. So they are of two type, three type: auxin, gibberellin and cytokinesis. Okay, and the function of these are: auxin helps in the division on elongation of plant part, then gibberellin helps in the seed germination, cytokinesis helps in the secondary growth. And if we talk about growth inhibitors, means they inhibits the growth, then they are abscisic acid, reduces transpiration from stomata by closing the stomata under water stress, and ethylene causes aging. So this was all about the different hormones present in the plants. So hope everything is clear to you. Thank you.